So lately I've been getting quite a few questions about how I assemble my stars and how I make these jigs that I use for dowel joinery. And I think the best explanation actually already exists in one of my other videos. So I'm going to start by pulling that clip and putting it in this video. We're going to watch it right now, and then I'm going to show you how to adjust the angles to this jig for when you're using 1x4s versus 2x4s. So let's go ahead and get started. So this part isn't actually too complicated. I basically just glue all the pieces together with wood glue, lay it on a flat surface, and I actually just let it dry as is. Sometimes I'll use some masking tape as well to hold the pieces together, but not completely necessary. I like using wood glue because it gives me time to be able to slide my pieces around and get them fitting in just the right spot. I don't think I'd be able to do that with other types of glue. And once everything's lined up, I let it sit overnight to dry, and then I like to reinforce the joints with dowel joinery using this cool little jig here. So this is similar to a pocket hole jig, only instead of screws, I'm using dowels. And my dowels in this case are actually bamboo barbecue skewers. Now I'm going to show you how to make one of these jigs, and just keep in mind that my drill bit is actually the same size as my dowel that I'm using. And you're not limited to just using bamboo barbecue skewers, you can use whatever dowels you want. So let's go ahead and make one of these things. I've got this drill bit set at a 25-degree angle, and I'll show you how to drill a hole at exactly 25 degrees. Now that's probably one of the main questions I get about these is what angle I'm using for the drill bit. And it is different for different projects, but we'll just focus on this one for now. So to drill this angle at a perfect 25-degree angle, I basically made another jig. Thankfully, this one is super easy to make. I basically just cut this little triangular piece on my miter saw by setting my saw to 25 degrees. And then I screwed it to the bottom of this piece of wood. And that's what I'm going to use to hold this 1x2 in place while I drill a hole through it. But before I attempt to drill that hole, I need a little flat spot on the corner here so that I can actually start drilling without the bit going all over the place. So for that, I just held my 1x2 against the jig and used a round file to file a little flat spot onto it. And this actually worked out pretty good. Then I took it to the drill press and used an appropriate sized drill bit. I clamped my jig to the drill press and decided to just hold my 1x2 against the jig. And that seemed to work pretty good. Some of you might think that might be kind of dangerous, but I was comfortable doing it this way and it worked out just fine. And there we go. Now we've got a hole at 25 degrees. Now all we have to do is line it up properly. But we need to figure out where to clamp this exactly. So I've got these two scrap pieces that I practice on. And this is a pretty important part because you wouldn't want to drill a hole right through your finished product and you want it lined up properly. So basically I just kind of guessed where it should go for my first try. I marked a line over here. I drilled a hole. I also kind of guess how deep it needs to go as well. And so you can see on the first try here, when I open up the joint, you can tell that the dowel isn't centered in the joint. So basically this tells me that my clamp was clamped too far back. So I'm actually going to move it forward a little, about 1/8 of an inch, and try that. And this was the result of that. So a little bit closer to the center, but not quite there yet. So I did it one more time, another 1/8 of an inch, and we got it pretty much in the center here. So that took a few minutes to sort out. Now that I've got that all lined up, all I have to do in the future is just line up this line with the corner of this part of the star, and that's where I clamp it down and drill my hole. Easy peasy. I'm also going to adjust the depth of my drill bit so that the dowel is going into the other piece about 3/4 of an inch. So I worked my way around the star, drilling these holes out. Once that was done, I cut my dowels to size, filled the holes up with glue, and then lightly tapped them into place. Once that was done, I just used my pull saw to trim them down, and then I sanded them down nice and smooth. So I think that probably should cover everything for you. If you're making 2D stars out of 1x4s, you're going to be changing the angle to 15 degrees. And if you're making 2D stars with 2x4s, the angle is going to be 36 degrees. And if you want to get real crazy with your joinery, you can check out this video where I assemble these stars with loose tenon joinery. I think I called them spline joints in that video, but I think it's technically loose tenon joinery. Anyhow, that's definitely a little bit more advanced and probably excessive, but also kind of cool. So check that out if you want to try something a little bit more complicated. All right, that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.